After giving over $82,000 to my family in silence, I got voted out like trash, but I came prepared, exposed years of betrayal, and destroyed my sister's marriage at Thanksgiving dinner. At Thanksgiving dinner, my sister stood up, clinked her glass, and smiled like she'd just won a Grammy. "We voted," she said sweetly, "and you're no longer part of this family." Everyone clapped. I laughed softly and slid a folder across the table. "Then I guess you won't need this." When Monica rose from her seat, I already knew something was wrong. That theatrical pause, that glint in her eye, it was the same smug performance she gave when I got suspended in 10th grade for something she did. "Before we carve the turkey," she said, "there's something important we all agreed on." Forks froze. Chews halted mid-bite. My heart pounded like a war drum. "We took a family vote," Monica continued, all pageant queen and petty pride. "And we've decided, you're not one of us anymore." Silence, then roaring applause. My cousin Danielle hooped like she was at a football game. Uncle Rick raised his whiskey glass. Even my mother, with cranberry sauce on her blouse, laughed and said, "Well, somebody had to say it." I sat there frozen, staring at my gravy-soaked mashed potatoes. My dad didn't say a word, just sipped his beer like he wasn't even there. "Wow," I said quietly, pushing back my chair. "You guys actually rehearsed this." Monica beamed wider. "You've been toxic for years," she said. "We're just done pretending." "You're not family," Mom added casually, passing the roles like we were deciding what Netflix movie to watch. I scanned the room. No one objected. Not one. "Good," I whispered. I reached into my bag, pulled out a thick navy blue folder, and placed it dead center on the table. Thud. The room fell into a hush so deep you could hear the kitchen faucet dripping. "What's that?" Monica sneered. I crossed my arms, leaned back, and grinned. "Why don't you find out?" She snatched it like it owed her money. First page, smirk intact. Second page, smirk gone. Third page, her face drained. Page after page, her hands trembled. Then came the scream, high-pitched, feral, like a horror movie gone live. "You psychopath," she shrieked. Joel, her husband, grabbed the folder, flipped it open. His jaw dropped. "Is this real?" he asked. I nodded. "Every screenshot. Every Venmo receipt. Every email. It's all there." The room was dead silent. You could hear the neighbors laughing next door. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it again. My dad blinked hard. "You all thought I wouldn't fight back," I said, rising slowly. "That I'd stay the quiet one. The cash dispenser. But guess what?" I leaned in, looked Monica dead in the eye. "Your little show? It's over." And I wasn't bluffing. Inside that folder were 5 years of bank statements. $82, $600, to be exact. I paid for Monica's botched dental implants she swore were emergency work $2,800, Joel's gambling rehab $7,000, my dad's knee surgery $9,400, my mom's lingering credit card debt from her secret shopping addiction $14,000, Danielle's tuition shortfall when she failed out of community college $5,600, and even a mysterious $4,300. Family emergency that turned out to be a trip to Puerto Vallarta. And not once, did anyone even try to pay me back. They just assumed I'd cover it. Because I was single. Because I made 6 figures. Because I didn't have a real family of my own. Because they thought I was desperate to belong. But what they didn't know was that while they were blocking me on Facebook, I was compiling a document that would end their free ride. And Monica? She got the worst of it. I'd found screenshots from a private thread where she called me a walking ATM with no spine, told her friends I was too pathetic to say no, and even bragged about how she was going to cut the financial umbilical cord for good. That folder was my declaration of independence. But if you think that's where it ends, think again. Because the real story? The one that made Monica really scream, that starts years earlier. Let's rewind a bit, back to the moment I said no. 3 months before that Thanksgiving disaster, Monica texted me out of the blue. "Hey, can you co-sign for a loan? Joel and I want to open a Yogaland juice cafe. It's our dream." I stared at the message for a full minute. "No, hi. No, how are you? Just a request for financial commitment that could wreck my credit." I replied, "I'm going to have to say no. That's not something I can do." No apology. No softness. Just a reply that felt like closing a door I'd left cracked open for too long. She didn't answer. Not that day. Not that week. A week later, my calls to Mom started going straight to voicemail. Dad's text shrunk to one-word answers. "Fine. Okay. Busy." My invitation to cousin Jeremy's birthday went missing. And then, I saw it, Monica's Instagram story. A quote in flowy font, "Cutting out toxic people isn't betrayal. It's self-care." I'd have laughed if it didn't sting so much. They weren't ghosting me. They were staging a mutiny. But I didn't sulk. I didn't beg. I started pulling receipts, literal ones. Because I don't throw things away. Bank transfers. Email chains. Venmo notes. Facebook posts. I had it all. In those weeks, I became an archivist of dysfunction. I wasn't just hurt. I was surgical. Analytical. Furious in slow motion. Monica's betrayal was the most obvious, but it wasn't isolated. My whole family had quietly trained me to see my generosity as obligation. And it started young. When I was 16, I saved up for a laptop by tutoring kids in math. The day I brought it home, Dad borrowed it to check email and spilled black coffee across the keyboard. He said I shouldn't be so materialistic about it. At 22, I paid half of Danielle's moving expenses after she got pregnant. No one thanked me. But when she got a new iPhone a week later, she posted a story captioned, "God provides." By 26, I was paying more toward my parents' mortgage than either of them. They called it temporary support during Dad's unemployment. But the job came back. The payments never stopped. I always excused it. I always justified. They love me. They just don't know how to show it. They're struggling, and I can help. It's not that big a deal. But then I met someone who saw it clearly. Her name was Kira. We were coworkers turned friends. She saw my phone light up with a message from Monica one day. It said, $1, $200 for Ellie's therapy. Can you do by Friday? Kira raised an eyebrow. You're not her bank. She's my sister. You're her accountant, her therapist, her insurance plan, and her doormat. I didn't speak. But she wasn't wrong. When I didn't send that money, Monica blocked me. And I realized something. This wasn't about gratitude. It was about compliance. So I kept collecting screen recordings of messages, notes about money they forgot they owed me, and screenshots of Monica mocking me to her friends. Every day, I added a page. I wasn't planning revenge. I was building truth. And then Thanksgiving came. That folder? It was always a contingency plan. But when they staged that little family referendum, when my own mother laughed and toasted to my exclusion, they activated the nuke. But that's not even the worst of it. Because one of the pages Monica didn't scream about, but Joel sure did, was a credit card bill from a Santa Monica hotel. A $4,200 charge for a 3-night stay with room service and champagne. And a guest listed under the name, Alyssa Hart. Joel read that name 3 times before whispering, "Who is this?" Monica didn't answer. Couldn't. That was the real bomb. The folder didn't just expose how much they took from me. It exposed what they were hiding from each other. And Joel? He'd been loyal to Monica for 10 years. But that day, his loyalty shattered. I didn't plan that part. I swear. But when I saw the way Monica's mouth clamped shut, like she'd just bitten into poison, I knew this story was far from over. What happened next? Let's just say the implosion was only beginning. I was 16 the first time I realized silence had a cost. It was late spring, and I'd just gotten my acceptance letter to a summer engineering program, fully paid, competitive, and the first thing I'd ever wanted purely for myself. I came home beaming, clutching the envelope like it was a golden ticket. But Monica was crying on the porch. Her boyfriend had dumped her for someone less controlling, she said between sobs. My mother rushed to her side like Monica had been shot. When I tried to share my news, Mom didn't even look at me. "Can't you see your sister's going through something right now?" I stuffed the letter in my pocket. That night at dinner, no one mentioned the program. I did the dishes, cleared Monica's plate, and went to bed with the acceptance letter under my pillow, folded in half. I never went. I never even replied to the offer. That was the night I learned my place in the family, the helper, the side character in everyone else's story. And I played that role for 2 more decades. But that Thanksgiving folder? That was me finally stepping off stage. After Monica's scream, Joel sat still, the folder open on his lap like it was radioactive. "What's this about Santa Monica?" he asked. "Who the hell is Alyssa?" Monica's jaw clenched. "Don't start. She stayed in a suite with you. For 3 nights. While I was at that damn sales conference in Denver." His voice cracked. "I called you every night. You said you were sick." She tried to laugh it off. "That's not what it looks like." But Joel wasn't buying it. He turned to me. "Did you know?" I didn't flinch. Not until I started digging. "That charge came from a joint card you both used." I pulled the statements when I was compiling proof. That word, proof, it hit like a hammer. "Who is she?" he asked again, softer this time. Still, no answer. Mom interjected, voice trembling. Can we please calm down? This is getting out of hand. Out of hand. I snapped, the years of bitterness boiling over. You all voted me out of the family 10 minutes ago. Now you want civility? Monica turned to Joel, voice rising. You're seriously taking his side? I'm taking the side of truth, he said, which you clearly haven't met in years. And that was when Monica lost control. You think he's noble? She spat, pointing at me. He's bitter. Alone. Pathetic. He always has been. Joel stood up. You cheated on me. He made me miserable, she screamed. Always judging. Never enough. No, I said quietly. You mean you were never satisfied? No matter how much I gave you. Money, time, silence. You still wanted more. She looked at me then, not as a brother, but as a threat. You're just mad because no one needed you anymore, she said. I stepped forward. Wrong. I'm just done being used. And that's when I did something I never planned. I pulled out a second envelope. Thick, sealed, labeled in black marker. Copy. I dropped it in front of Joel. What is this? He asked. Everything that's in the folder. Plus the hotel security footage request form, copies of text between Monica and Alyssa, and an email trail where she discussed opening a business in Santa Monica with a very personal business partner. Monica lunged for it. Joel caught her wrist midair. Don't, he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was something worse, detached. And for the first time since I'd met him, Joel looked like a man who had nothing left to lose. I need time, he said, backing away. To think. To decide what comes next. Monica stood there, shell-shocked, watching her carefully curated life crumble like a sandcastle in a tide. My mother whispered, Joel, don't overreact. But he didn't even look back. As he walked out, folder in hand, Monica turned to me with eyes like razors. You planned this. I shook my head. No. You did. And deep inside me, something shifted. I remembered that 16-year-old boy with the folded acceptance letter under his pillow. And I knew he'd finally gotten his voice back. By the time Joel slammed the door behind him, the air at the table had curdled. The cranberry sauce had started to sweat. The turkey's golden skin cracked under the heat lamp glow. And yet no one moved. Except my mother. She stood up slowly, cleared her throat, and reached for the folder. Maybe we've all said things we didn't mean, she began, voice trembling like she was accepting an Oscar. I slid it out of her reach. No, I said. You don't get to rewrite the script now. We were angry, she said softly. You've always been so difficult to connect with. That word, difficult, rang louder than any scream. Difficult? I echoed. Because I stopped paying your bills? Her eyes widened. That's not fair. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the final envelope, the one I'd saved for last. I tossed it onto the table like a playing card that would end the game. Dad finally looked up. What now? He groaned, rubbing his temples. That, I said, is a legal statement revoking power of attorney, emergency contact status, and all financial responsibility for either of you. You didn't, Mom whispered. I did, I replied. And I mailed a copy to your attorney. I don't owe you anything, not my time, not my wallet, not my guilt. Mom's face paled. You're cutting us off? After everything we've done for you? You mean the way you let Monica throw me under the bus for her own mistakes? Or when you took my money, laughed behind my back, and still voted me out of my own family? My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough. I didn't flinch. I turned to him, calm as the eye of a storm. You watched it happen, I said. For years. You heard the jabs. You saw the texts. And you said nothing. His jaw clenched. I didn't want to choose sides. You did, I said. You just didn't choose mine. That silence? It was louder than the screaming. Then Mom leaned in, voice trembling. You don't understand. We needed you. No, I said, leaning back. You needed someone obedient. And I was cheaper than a financial advisor. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. And maybe she didn't. Because the son she raised? He was gone. But just when I thought it was over, Monica laughed. A sharp, bitter laugh that made the hairs on my neck rise. You think you're free? She snapped. You're not. You'll come crawling back. You're still alone. Still pathetic. You'll never build a real family. This righteous folder, it's all you have. I smiled. That's where you're wrong. Because I had something they didn't. Peace. And something else I hadn't planned to say, but it spilled out anyway. Remember 5 years ago when Mom said she couldn't afford her medical bills? She blinked. Of course. I had to postpone my wedding because of it. Funny thing, I said. I went back through her insurance statements while compiling that folder. Mom's face froze. And guess what? Her employer's health plan covered 90% of everything. The copay was under $300. Monica turned slowly. What? Mom looked like she might faint. She lied, I said flatly. She wanted extra cash for the down payment on the condo in Sarasota. The one she never told you about. Danielle's wine glass slipped from her hand. You have a condo? She whispered. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. The table exploded. Danielle started yelling. Rick stood up, shouting something about betrayal. Laura was halfway to tears. And I just stood, grabbed my coat, and walked to the door. Where are you going? Mom called out. Somewhere I'm wanted, I said. And this time, I meant it. I didn't go home that night. I drove past the faded landmarks of my childhood, past the church where we used to pose for Easter photos, past the grocery store where Monica and I once fought over who got to ride in the cart. I didn't feel nostalgic. I felt free. For the first time, I wasn't looking in the rearview mirror for a family that never looked back at me. 3 days later, the silence cracked. First, a voicemail from Mom. We were angry, but we're still your family. That has to mean something. Then a text from Monica. Hope you're happy. Joel filed for divorce. Ellie cries every night. You destroyed her family. I didn't respond. Then came Dad, always late to the party. You went too far. But we get it. Just fix this before it's too late. Too late for what? Their comfort? I blocked every number. Changed my locks. Froze joint accounts. Even removed myself from their emergency contacts. I told myself this was the end. But they weren't done. Not yet. Because on Christmas Eve, I got a card in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. But I knew my mother's cursive like I knew my own name. 3 pages. The first, apologies. We said things we didn't mean. We miss you. We didn't realize how much you carried. The second, guilt. Your father's health is declining. Monica's a mess. Ellie asks about you every day. The third, the ask. We're selling the house. But we're underwater. We need help just this once. For the family. Please. I sat with the letter. Let it sit heavy in my lap. Then I folded it. Walked to the fireplace. And burned it. Because what they were really asking for wasn't money. It was access. To my time. My peace. My guilt. My silence. I built a new life in the quiet. I moved to a new city. Took a job that didn't keep me up at night. Started volunteering at the community library on weekends. Not because anyone needed me, but because I wanted to. I woke up without checking my phone in fear. I made coffee without budgeting for someone else's crisis. One Sunday, I posted a photo, me and my rescue dog, Bentley, on the beach. I thought nothing of it. Until a week later, I got a letter at my new address. No name, just the handwriting again. 3 words on a torn napkin. We're still family. No apology. No ownership. Just that same manipulative undertone. Look what you've done. Look who you're hurting. I didn't reply, because I finally understood something. Being family isn't about blood. It's about behavior. And the greatest revenge is living a life so peaceful they can't reach it. A few weeks ago, Joel emailed me. He'd filed for full custody of Ellie. The folder helped. So did the hotel receipts. The court didn't buy Monica's story. Apparently, Alyssa had testified. I should have seen it sooner, he wrote. Thank you. You didn't just save me. You gave Ellie a chance. I sat there, rereading the message. And I realized something. I wasn't alone. I was just finally with people who chose me. And that was the family I'd been searching for all along.